prescription lien is not for you. All you got to do is exercise it.
Drive to Legends Defiance.
Got it. Legends Recovery Center of Defiance. Addiction Treatment and Detox Center in Ohio. Drug and Alcohol Rehab in Ohio.
Like helping to maintain healthy blood sugar, helping to control appetite and cravings, and helping to burn fat by converting into energy. So if you're ready to lose weight sooner or later, let's get you started today. 20% off your first order. Go to takelean.com, takelean.com. Use the code Robert20 at takelean.com. We'll say, and the link courtesy of friends at Good Cows Nutrition. That sponsor today's show. And so let's take a look at what is happening out there. We're paying special attention to the classified documents case, and stuff is being filed as we speak. So let's take a look at the latest here. Here is what's happening. In the classified documents case in Florida, we've got a hearing coming up on Friday. President Trump submitted his notice explaining what his position is for this hearing. We've got some other things happening because right now Judge Cannon is reviewing the classified documents Volume 2 memo and is going to be deciding whether that can be released to Congress or not. But once it goes to Congress, it will then become, I think the public will probably see that soon enough. So we will see what President Trump says. But before we do, let's get up to speed on what Jack Smith sent into the court this afternoon. It was a notice of compliance. And they say Jack Smith is gone. He retired from, or got fired from the DOJ, running away back to The Hague. But this is his replacement team that has now picked this up and is running with it. And so you can see it tells us Elizabeth Shapiro is the new attorney who's on this case. And here's what Jack says.
Howdy.
All right, listen,
yes,
Judge
Defiance.
Cannon. The court has directed the government to provide it with Volume 2 of Jack Smith's final report. And this is going to Judge Cannon because, as we've already seen, Volume 1 is now out and published. You probably haven't heard anything about it because no one cares. It's a rehash of all the other things we've already seen and not worth the time. Jack already released it in an appendix to the judge back when they were trying to get Trump smeared before the election took place. But now the question is about Volume 2, whether that should be released. And there might be other things in there that Trump does not want out. If you believe he did anything wrong, I believe. Now, as the government has indicated, the Attorney General has decided that Volume 2 will not be made available to the public while this criminal case remains pending, because releasing its contents to the public would risk prejudice to the defendants. And remember, there were two other co-defendants here, Walt and Carlos, who are still being prosecuted. And Democrats, I think on the Judiciary Committee, are now demanding that Jack Smith dismiss the case against them so that they can continue the process of releasing the report. But it's never about justice or anything. It's all about just smearing Trump. And if you're going to delay the release of the report to the public because you're concerned about Walt and Carlos not in the co-defendants, that's not a good trade-off for them.
Green silo.
Ultimate penalties for Trump. So they say the only remaining issue before this court now is therefore whether making Volume
And Dirty hung out with me till almost 4 o'clock today. 3:30.
Under the conditions that the government
My time.
said, basically we're gonna lock into the floor.
I gotta stop and get gas. I just realized I don't want to run out.
They say, Your Honor, that's all you have
I hit
to
the
decide.
speedway out right off the freeway.
Volume 2 is not necessary, so you don't need to
Grab a
actually
schnecky. I didn't eat no lunch today.
They'll just give it to the Congress people. So you don't need to read it to make that determination. But as directed, even though you don't need this, the government has provided to you, Judge Cannon, for your review 2 hard copies of Volume 2. Unredacted copies.
Yeah, I figured
stamped on the
you
first
got
page,
tired.
unredacted.
So
And
you were in the
unredacted
chat
copies
of
the Attorney General would make available
or Callahan's chat last night, so you had to be exhausted, man.
Judiciary committees in both houses.
Of course, he went live right after I went to bed.
Now the redacted copy.
That's what I'm
protects
thinking,
the
man.
secrecy matters
Give me a slice.
occurring before the grand jury of matters occurring before
Or some
the grand
wings,
jury
something.
as well as information that you sealed. And neither the redacted nor unredacted copies contain any classified info, so there's nothing to worry about. The government is arranging for the Defense Council to inspect unredacted copies of Volume 2 and redacted copies identical to what we gave you before tomorrow's hearing. Right, so that is Jack Smith's replacement team who submitted that into the court. And now Trump has submitted the following before that even came in. This was his notice before that one was returned. And
So he drove for about 4 hours. Did he make it all the way to Sioux Falls?
To the court's order,
I ain't see, he must have been sleeping all day today. I ain't seen him.
Argument in support of his motion to intervene as to Volume 2 of the final report, saying John Lauro and Gregory Singer will appear on behalf of President Trump, and Mr. Lauro designated to present the argument. And so that
I figured something like that.
Week tomorrow on Friday, and depending on how this goes, see the report released. And whether there is anything. Why did you say this? The report is crafted by Jack Smith, so you can't believe anything that's in it. First of all, legally, he's illegitimate in this case. He was not ever lawfully appointed according to our laws, and the case was dismissed on that basis. So everything that he touched is fruit of the poisonous tree. It should all be deemed to be moot and not considered. But in addition to that, right, his report is going to be written by a bunch of partisan hacks, and most of the materials have already leaked anyways. And so what is going to be new in there that's going to deviate the new administration? I doubt anything. I'm not worried about it at all. But I still would understand the defense reason for not wanting it to come out. You never want a biased, smearful report to come out and be spread around, because, as we know, you'll get guys like Adam Schiff.
I gotcha.
Who will pervert the story for their own ends. So we're going to keep our eye on this one. Tomorrow is the hearing. Don't know if we'll get a ruling on it tomorrow, but we're also keeping our eye on the things that expire, because what will happen is that these injunctions and all these stays that have been in place will start to evaporate, and the report will go to Congress. Now, the other thing that we've seen is a plea from Democrats to dismiss the co-defendants so that the case is basically closed and they can just release the reports whenever they want, essentially. And so we're going to keep our eye on that one and follow what's happening in Florida. But we've got some other business to attend to. And we're going to be talking with our friend Lecter here in a minute. But I want to do a little bit of a preview on what we're going to be talking about with Adam Johnson and the Lecter leader. So you may remember this story. This is, okay, here, this guy. This is Patrick Scruggs. You may remember him. He's a former J6 prosecutor who, when the prosecutions were just launching, was very aggressive towards one particular defendant who got caught up in the J6 scam. We're going to be talking to him. His name is Adam Johnson, and he is known as the Lecter guy. He's on X at Lecter Leader. What's so interesting about this case is this prosecutor, this J6 prosecutor, who's no longer with the DOJ, he was accused of multiple felonies. In fact, we looked up his case, and you can see several of them right here. First degree, second degree, third degree. You've got armed burglary, aggravated battery, and aggravated assault. This guy's name is Patrick Douglas Scruggs. What's so interesting about this is this was a former prosecutor who's no longer there, but what you'll see in this document, okay, this is a screen record from the Middle District of Florida, and this is a criminal case brought by the United States government against Adam Johnson, who we'll be speaking to here momentarily. And what's so interesting about this is that now this case has been resolved, and we'll hear from Adam very shortly. But what's so curious is this guy's name is right here. Oh, Patrick Scruggs, representing the United States government. Interesting. And now he's being charged with felonies for...
I hope not. I'm hoping just
things.
2 laptops.
And
we'll see.
He was in court recently, and what we'll see is that he's scheduled for a trial, or was scheduled for a trial, we'll learn more about it, on February 10th. But this looks like this was just updated with a disposition, and so it looks like there were things that happened there yesterday. And so we are now going to bring in our good friend Adam Johnson, who is joining us, who you saw listed there
The Electron guy.
on the docket. Adam, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Great to hear you, my man. Thank you for joining us again. It's great to see you.
Oh yeah, I had some last minute tech issues. My laptop decided to update last minute.
How it always goes.
Switch over to the desktop.
You made it, my man. Are you good? You still
I'm good.
Right on. So I think you heard a little bit of that, but we're talking about Patrick Scruggs. Can you bring everybody up to speed on what you've been doing or what your involvement has been?
What playoffs?
I've been accused of being
There's no games tonight, is there?
Told me that I was a threat to my community. Gave me an ankle monitor. Told me I had a curfew, nightly curfew, leave the house for certain hours. And a year later, in 2023, he was filmed allegedly stabbing a man on the interstate or the highway.
I don't think they play till Saturday.
The story has had
Should be good.
since then.
There's 2 games Saturday. Detroit's the later game. There's like a 4 o'clock game and an 8 o'clock game.
He's had a history of drug and alcohol use. He's been arrested a handful of times.
The number 1 seeds get to play Saturday, and then
His name is Blake Sharp.
the wild cards that won into the divisional
And this is the
series.
person who got stabbed, just so everyone
Yes.
knows, or allegedly got stabbed. He was in the vehicle.
Yes. Now, does it mean that he's deserves to be stabbed? I don't think so. I think everyone deserves to not be stabbed.
Yeah. Good general.
Good general rule. So, during this incident, he was having a medical issue. The defense for Mr. Scruggs is arguing that he was under the influence during the time. Now, they did not test him for drugs or alcohol in the hospital because he had just gotten done being stabbed. And they're arguing because he has a history that he was obviously under influence during this event. So they're going with a self-defense, Daniel Penny type of story, type of narrative. We've had local newspapers already put out articles saying that, there's more to the story that meets the eye. What I saw was a man allegedly, again, innocent until proven guilty, leave his vehicle, break a car window with his knife, and then stab a man over and over again. That's what I saw. That's what the world saw. So if you're telling me self-defense is exiting your vehicle and entering someone else's vehicle, this is your stand your ground state. This was a leave your ground, enter someone else's ground altercation.
Yeah, and so we saw the video. We saw some footage of that, right? People were there taking it, posting it on Facebook, and even in our thumbnail, we have the one image, right? There's a guy in the car, got his hands out the window with, I think, blood on him. I mean,
Yes.
they look bloody to me. And
All
this
right,
other,
I'll get some gas and grab something. I'll be right back. I'll leave this on.
A U.S. prosecutor?
Yes, so he worked for the federal government as a prosecutor. He was my prosecutor. Then he went with a private firm, I think, shortly afterwards. They have since cut ties with him.
Yeah, okay. And he's still being prosecuted. And so this, when did this happen originally, the alleged attack?
I believe it was September of 2023 was when this happened. So it's been a very long time this case has been ongoing. And there have been delays with this. There have been, look, you hire a good defense, you're going to want these things, you're going to want continuances, you're going to, come with the best defense possible. I'm not mad at the defense for bringing this argument, but this argument on its face is I don't know who would believe this. And what concerns me is I think I know the tactic they're going for. Blake Sharp has been in jail almost immediately since this event occurred. They've held him because he violated probation. He had a dirty urine test, so he is now in jail. On top of this, he is also a CI for the local sheriff's office. So he called Carlos, the guy who's in charge of his, confidential informant status, and he said, I'm going to turn myself in, I know there are warrants. So he's been held here. What concerns me is that I believe that they are leveraging his current conditions of being in jail as a way to get him to rectify his testimony, to say, I was under the influence during the time, so he might be passed off on these other charges that he's currently being held for. And in the courtroom today, that was very much the vibe that was happening. The defense was asking to meet with him in jail. They had been in contact with his father. The defense typically doesn't meet with these people, the prosecutors do. They get testimony, they swear it in, this is the person.
That's exactly right. He's the victim of a crime, allegedly, right? He just got shanked multiple times by a prosecutor. So the defense, many states, and I'm not licensed in Florida, I don't practice there, but many states have victims' bill of rights, and victims are protected against that because they don't want defense attorneys going in there and getting them to change their story, obviously.
Exactly. And I think one of the biggest injustices we've seen here is this case never should have been tried in his backyard, in the place where he has worked with these people for years. These are his friends, his neighbors. They all hang out at the same bar at 5 o'clock when it's time to check out. This was something that never should have happened in the same district that he worked in.
Yeah, and that is a really pernicious thing that people, I think, have a hard time comprehending. But when I was practicing more, I was regularly watching, right, basically judges and prosecutors go into the same building. They park in the same parking lots, they walk into the same buildings, they go to the same lunch shops. Okay, they're all like in the same little arena with each other. And from my perspective as a defense attorney, we're on the outs of that. We don't get that same camaraderie, and so you start to see some funny business happening between everybody.
This is what it feels like, and it's been this since day one. The defense, the prosecution, everyone's very pally-pally with this guy because they've known him for a long time. And I understand it's federal and state are different, but there is communication open between those two departments because a lot of times things get kicked from one side to the other. So when I'm watching these proceedings go under, I'm mostly concerned because the state and the defense seem to be on the same page. And while that's a good thing because trials do cost the taxpayers money, and if you can come to an agreement that a crime was committed and this is a reasonable sentence about having to burden the taxpayers and the judge and the whole system, that's fine. I'm fine with that. They're not even concerned about the jury trial that is scheduled for February 10th. It seems like they have no intention of ever showing up to this. It's never going to happen. That they understand that there is a play to be made, and they're making this play behind closed doors.
Interesting. Yeah, I want to ask you about, you were there today, right?
I was.
You were there today, yeah. So I want to ask you about that. But and you've been following this case for a while, but I just wanted to comment on what you said because there is a code of conduct that exists, and you hear about it a lot with police, like this blue code of silence or this blue shield that cops have amongst themselves, and I've seen it happen. I've watched it, multiple times. But it also exists amongst prosecutors, and this happens regularly too. We had that one case in Arizona where it was the Philip Brailsford case, where you may have seen the video. It went, mega viral at the time, but it was a young man who's begging for his life on his knees in a hotel room, and a cop just executed that dude.
I saw.
And, yep, it was a horrific case. The guy had all sorts of, like you're effed on his gun and all sorts of stuff. It was,
on his dust plate. Yep, I remember this.
Yeah, and it looked like a murder to everybody who saw it. And so they prosecuted the guy, but he actually got acquitted because the Arizona prosecutors just kind of laid down. It's just kind of like they play at like D level, and they just don't do their job. And then you see their friends get off, and it's one of the most corrupt things you've ever seen.
Well, I mean, there is a video, and again, I'll keep saying alleged because I don't like how it was talked about in the middle of all this. But allegedly, there is a video of Patrick Scruggs committing a very, very violent act, and I don't understand where the hang-up is here. There is a video of it. This should be cut and clear. And the way they're spinning this is because this man is, has had run-ins with the police, because that he, has had these prior arrests, that his life is less valuable. I think that is such a disservice to the justice system because even if I get on board with that concept, that there are some people who maybe deserve, they have things coming to them, fine. We have a justice system to ensure that happens in a natural order, in a natural sense.
Yeah. And
every time that we see these events occur where it's pally-pally and people just, I have maybe unspoken immunity from this because we're all friends. Every time we see that happen, it degrades the justice system a little bit more. And I am nervous that we will never recover what I think a lot of us believe to be true, that the justice system is free and fair.
Cheetos and chips. All they had was cheese pizza.
What happens oftentimes
We want Jennings.
Cases is I think sometimes this happens naturally, where a defense attorney will get two co-defendants, kind of two people did something wrong, and those can actually be strong cases because then you tell everybody, both defendants, like shut your mouth and you'll be okay. Like, don't testify against each other, and you can have strength and unity. But that usually doesn't happen when you have one person knifing the other person, right? So that's the fact that this Blake Sharp person is now almost being coerced, kind of like, we'll give you a better plea deal if you agree unspoken, right, not to testify in this other case, but not to be a victim, because you made a wrong. Like, two rights don't make a wrong. You did something bad in these other cases. He did something bad here, and so just let's make it all a wash. The problem with that is the things that he did aren't codified under criminal law such that the sentence is you get stabbed multiple times in your car, right? There are other penalties for this, and so you can't have like a trade-off type
Waffle House, yeah.
criminal justice system, which is what you're seeing there.
Liquor fluid sounds low. Well,
it's pretty clear. I think usual. No, you shouldn't be.
I'll do that. I'll get that when I get my oil changed pretty soon.
I don't think that we're going to see a natural resolution that we would see. There was actually someone there today, another defendant. There's no courtroom statement. We go through the docket. This man allegedly threw a steak knife at his wife, and he was treated completely different than Patrick Strauss. Again, if you're in the system, working with the system, I think there's just this natural tendency of relatedness when you get handed with kids' gloves.
Yeah, and that is a real shame. And you might think he's being prosecuted by state prosecutors at the moment, right? He works with the federal government, and so some people might think, as you mentioned earlier, that there's a delineation between the two of those, but it's this code, right? Prosecutors like other prosecutors. I think that even if he went to another location, let alone his backyard, he'd still get a benefit of the doubt from other prosecutors. But the fact that he's right there in Florida and worked in that jurisdiction, worked in that district, he knows the judges, he knows the other prosecutors, and it's showing.
I agree. You know, there's this biblical concept where people who are put in positions of leadership, right, that if they don't adhere to the policies and the lessons and teachings that they're promoting, that their judgment is actually more harsh or severe. I believe that this should be the same standard for people who are exercising and practicing our laws in our justice system. And I don't see that happening with him at all. I see a lot of soft language, a lot of informalities even between the prosecution and the defense. It's they seem to be friendly. You know, and they're co-workers at the end of the day. They all got into the same creed and the same pact, and I don't know, man. I have a pit of my stomach feeling this man is going to walk, and he's going to walk because they have held Blake Sharp in jail for a long time. Now, should he be in jail because he violated probation? That's a different case. That's fine. I understand this, but I really do believe they are leveraging that to get this man off.
Yeah, they are, because that is basically a non-cooperative or missing victim. Like, he's not missing, but he's not available exactly. He's not cooperating exactly like another witness would be. And they've got leverage to keep him locked away, and it's hard to prosecute a case without a victim. So they're doing what they can to squeeze him out. So you were there today, and can you give us some background? You said you've been following these pretrial conferences and pretty familiar with the case.
I am. Again, I've been accused of being petty. You know, but every once in a while when you see, I don't know, this was just, divine intervention, call it kinsman, call it what you want, but to have my personal prosecutor, my first one, head of the situation, I was like, I'm definitely going to show up to every single court proceeding. So I've been there for every hearing, every pre-trial. I've read through depositions, I've read through witness testimony lists. I went through all of this because I'm genuinely curious. I don't want to see someone go to prison for something that I don't think should go to prison for. You know,
Yep.
But at the same time, I want to make sure the justice system still works for those who are in charge of it. So I am there for every single time that he has a court date. I am there.
And in your experience, is he or has his defense team been trying to explain this away, like as a moment of his lapsed judgment, or as a medical condition for him, or is he, in other words, accepting any responsibility for this in order to get out of custody and stuff, or is he really just pushing it back on the other?
I think they are going very hard towards a self-defense stance. That is what they're going to go with. And if you read through all the depositions, all of these statement facts, it is a self-defense leaning to gold. And they're basically they're promoting him like he is Daniel Penn. there is this menace that exists on the road, and he did what was necessary to make sure that this person wasn't on the road. That's where they're leading.
Wow.
And they have local newspapers putting articles together to make this man almost sound like, what would you have done in that situation? You may have executed the vehicle. You may have been upset. You've been in an accident. People get hot-headed. People have tempers. Sure, you might grab your knife. Sure, you might break open a window. Haven't we all been there at least once?
It is such a joke to hear that as the excuse, but I can understand where they're saying this is going. If this guy was driving under the influence, or he was drunk or something, and they can't test his blood, so you presume that this prosecutor, who's a sworn government official, is just trying to be out there to just save society and protect the people on the street and all that stuff. This guy is now being essentially taken off the board. We're trying to make it so he is not going to be available for trial, or if he does go to trial, he'll be not a credible witness. But there's something, when this happens, actually, right? People get in road rage incidents and people do crazy things. They're usually not federal prosecutors who are prosecuting other J6ers for violent crimes, but it does happen, and the response is always, what happens a lot too is people will flee the police. So when cops pull up behind them, they'll see a light, they won't recognize a police car, it'll look like an undercover car, they won't recognize it, they'll flee, right? And then the defense, or the excuse from the cops about why they prosecute them and really beat them beat them up over it is because they say you should have just called 911. Just call 911, say, is this a real officer? Come here, defer it all to the cops. And prosecutors say this all the time too, because I've been sitting across from them saying, my client was freaked, she was driving a weird SUV, and the cops drive like maniacs too, like at 2 in the morning. They come right up to you, they drive like psychopaths, and so people freak out.
I want a rematch with Buffalo in the Super Bowl. That's it.
Call the cops. You don't have to get out of your car.
If I could pick the Super Bowl, it'd be Detroit versus Buffalo.
So he knows that better.
With a decimated defense. We got a couple of people back on defense now. I think we could do it as long as they stay healthy in the next 2 games. We got to win this game and the next one to make the Super Bowl. And I think Buffalo has a good chance. I think Buffalo is the one that's playing it. Or no, not Buffalo. Yeah, it is. Kansas City's playing. So Buffalo's probably playing Sunday. I don't think Kansas City's going to be in the Super Bowl. One of our only 2 losses.
Maybe we'll get that jury and some bias in the way that these juries are biased towards conservatives.
Well, you guys fuck teasing me about blinker fluid. I just got a notification my washer fluid's low.
So what they have,
don't let Duke hear you say that.
And speaking with Blake Sharp,
that's his team.
If they can come to an agreement, they said this in open court. The state had no problem with the judge asked if they wanted to push off the trial date because it seemed like they might more time. And the state defense said it was an issue that they should be fine with that. I think they're going for a plea deal, and I really truly believe that they are going to persuade him to change his testimony, because his current testimony was he was having a diabetic events on the road. He had low blood sugar. Either the ambulance, either the ER physicians could prove that he had any type of low blood sugar, no medicine was given. So, and all again, trying to be very honest here, he probably did not have he probably was on some type of drug or alcohol. These things probably happen. It still should never result in him being stopped. We have police for this. The car was stuck, the car was stalled. We wasn't trying to flee the scene. We're supposed to handle these things.
I don't think the Dolphins aren't even in the playoffs.
You should have trusted the system that you built up.
And probably a pretty obvious question. We didn't see any evidence of him having a gun in the car.
He's doing hockey stuff right now.
No, nothing. So the way the story is.
Speaking of that, going to a hockey game April 4th, Red Wings versus Carolina Hurricanes.
No, but the defense is saying this. The defense is saying this, that he did exit his vehicle with a weapon. He went over into that Blake Sharp exited his vehicle. He did not exit his vehicle. So again, this is the defense saying it, so I'm not repeating it, it's not alleged. The defense is admitting. He broke the window with the back handle of his knife, tried to open the door from the inside. Blake tried to shove his arms out of his car, out of his vehicle, and then Patrick Scruggs began to stab him. So this is such a clear-cut case to me. Even the defense is saying this is the occurrence of events. So regardless whether the man was under the influence or not, he posed no threat being inside of his vehicle whatsoever, away from everyone else.
So they're saying, yeah, so he broke the window to stop some sort of reckless driver type of situation.
What one? Oh, yeah, we'll see.
That's
They just had a 7-game winning streak, but then they lost to one of the weakest teams. My sister was at the game day before yesterday. I don't know when their next game is.
Yeah, what again? Exactly right. And that's
Over 500, not the wings from when I was younger.
Breaking windows and stabbing somebody. Might be having a medical emergency, but he's not the person to make that decision. He may have no evidence to take him to the hospital. So you don't just get to start this.
it's all speculation.
Steve Leto?
Was hiding behind the door, jump behind the wheel, but there is no evidence.
Well, he's an attorney. Of course he's a statist.
All of it's speculation. Well, if you look at his history,
L-E-H-T-O.
probably was this, that that's considered
It's
evidence.
Finnish. Like Wickland.
Right.
Swedish Finnish.
And what's so interesting about this, obviously, is the case is an interesting case because it's a prosecutor. Seeing this happening, when I watched the video, it looked to me like his body language was he was just mad somebody hit his car. He was just irritated. I don't think he did that way.
I do. So if you actually look at Patrick Scruggs' history, I think it's fair to point this out. So my case they were on my right. That was that's the dirt they had on me that I had a couple of student points. Patrick Scruggs he was doing over 20.
He does usually almost a video a day.
Improper passing on the interstate. So he has a history of not driving well and being aggressive. And if the defense is, Blake Sharp has a history of an alcohol problem. This other guy, Patrick Scruggs, has a history of not driving so well and being very aggressive. How long do you allow him to be on the road before he finishes his job on time? Fortuity speculation, right?
Yes, he's prosecuted. There were state level prosecutors and prosecuting people. You would see
Steve.
federal prosecutors prosecuting people for reckless driving. Lives generally, this is on the evidence. But those would be aggravating factors. Okay, so for the state level prosecutor, you've got a bad criminal record, a bad driving history, and chasing and stabbing somebody like that. That's going to be used against you, and not something that the normal prosecution is not routines.
This is what I'm seeing these articles that are coming out. It was the Herald Tribune and something rather earlier today or yesterday about the field that they ran. He brought up Blake Sharp's drug history, but not Patrick Scruggs' criminal history. And these people, they protect their own. They do.
They do, and what's the other sickening part about this is that he was part of a prosecution team that was going after J6ers. They accused many J6ers of violent behavior, even though that was not in evidence at all. And the J6ers, okay, when they're sentenced, they're in prison for decades at a time. And this guy might walk free.
I really hate saying the reason I'm here tonight, Robin, is because I hope this reaches some people. I hope that
No, they're buddies though.
That we were talking about this, that we were
No, I didn't. I just watched a little bit of it, but like I missed the whole stream. I just reviewed a little bit of it and gave it a like just to get the basics. Find out about whether I couldn't tell whether or not he actually made it to his destination or not.
Yeah, that would be nice, and I'm really glad that you're paying attention. Is anybody else really covering this in the mainstream? Or
No.
It
It did some rounds. We got a couple million views when it first came out last year, but it's gone very quiet since. They shot at presidents, elections, things like this. There's other things that have been going on.
Well, this trial's scheduled on the 10th, so we'll see if there's a plea deal.
I mean,
Is this guy talking about a plea deal? Like, we can take, is there other conversations about ever seen any of that, observed any of that?
Not yet, but the body language and the language in general using the court is that they will reach a plea deal. The state is not fighting this at all. Any requests that its attorneys have made, they've been more than happy to oblige. Continuance of his extra positions, they actually had 2 depositions. Typically, it's just 1. They had 2 separate ones, so it seems like they're going above and beyond to accommodate package drugs in whatever way it needs. So I think they're going to reach a plea deal. I think it's going to be amicable for all parties other than Blake Sharp.
Yeah, and he'll just be the usual scapegoat, right? He's just going to be this bad apple that they can do whatever they want to because
I don't want to have to buy any. My oil changes due.
His violation of probation, his current sentence, whatever fines he has, and maybe these things go away. Maybe you're released from jail, but maybe your testimony should change. Maybe you were drunk that day. Maybe you were a threat on the road. Maybe you were trying to run over package.
I think I'm going to get my oil changed tomorrow.
I think we're heading that direction.
I do got to make it out to Cleveland, though, within the next couple days.
They didn't reset the trial date at all.
Kind of want to do it tomorrow, but I really don't want to fucking drive all the way to Cleveland after getting off work.
The trial date, they didn't even argue to move or push whatsoever. They stayed for the defense. And the judge even asked them, well, it seems that a lot of things going on right now. Do we need to push the trial date? Either one of them.
Is that similar to a paint drying stream?
Which is negative. Either the state is confident they're going to trial, or they're taking a plea deal and they're trying to reach resolution before it happens.
Yeah, so a lot of stuff happened.
Oh shit. This guy's moving slow. Fucking 70 miles an hour here, dude. He's fucking doing 55. Jesus.
I think we'll see a plea deal reached in the next 2 weeks. I do. I think the story will get buried, and there will be a prosecutor who was on video stabbing someone walking away.
With the probation deal, maybe unsupervised or
maybe some anger management classes. I believe it's going to be happening.
Different standards.
Yes.
Well, I'm really glad that you're keeping an eye on it because I do recall talking about.
Oh no, hell no, it won't.
We had to follow back up on it, so it's nice that you're on it. It's about what we expected. And this is a pattern that comes up from time to time again. Prosecutors protect themselves, cops protect them, people in power protect themselves, and unfortunately, it's happening.
Well,
I know you're packing up and you're getting on the road. I wanted to ask if you have a minute or two just about, did you watch any Pam Bondi confirmation hearing stuff? I mean, we're just days away until Trump comes in.
I got the clips. I think we all see the clips, the reels, the 30 seconds, her remarks. I did see Schiff falling asleep during the confirmation. That was nice. Oh God, what is that line from Usual Suspects? I think it's Kevin Spacey. The guys who were guilty because they fall asleep.
That was a great film.
Yeah. I've been critical on Pam Bondi for some of the practices she's had in the state of Florida. She was a red flag all enthusiast, and I think to a absolutist. So I've had some critiques of her positions on gun laws. I do know that Trump came out and said that he is going to remove the ATF's reach to ban pistol races, which is fantastic because it's in common use. There are millions of these things already in the market that law-abiding citizens own. So maybe it'll be okay. Maybe it won't. I look forward to seeing what happens.
Yeah, interesting. It's interesting that you go right to that issue. I mean, she didn't get asked too much about that at the hearing. We covered the whole thing. I think it was 36 hours. It didn't come up a whole lot. Some people were asking her about what she's going to do with the ATF. She's put down and kind of stuff. But it wasn't as big an issue as the Pfizer was. So Cash Patel was. They brought up Cash Patel multiple times. But the other thing they brought up was the pardon scheme. Of course, we're all trying to gauge how this is going to work. It's going to be acceptable, not acceptable. I know free state law.
Senator, man, it's been a while, buddy. Good to see you.
Reason because I do think he's right about this. That they botched the pardon process at the beginning of this administration. It turns into a 6-9 month thing. That is not going to look good at all. So I think he came out with a.
Why are you not a?
Trump called it a bungee, and sure he sees, but just wanted to get your thoughts on that whole new chapter that's about to open.
So I love Free State Roy. He's one of my favorite people. He's in the top 5 of my favorite J6ers. That guy is a gem. I land at a different place on parties than a lot of J6ers do.
Yes, road's in decent condition. I only got about 25 minutes left. Not too far from the house.
Parties for non-violent offenders, day one. Just, we're done with this before. The ones that were charged with violence, I think we do need to do a case-by-case view of this. And I think that if you hit a cop, it's always bad on the cops. It's a bad look. But you've already served enough time. Most of these people have served 3 or 4 years. Their sentences should be commuted. Done. We're done with this. My biggest concern with blanket pardons is that we sweep things under the rug, and we don't have meaningful investigations. We don't actually look into how January 6th occurred, how it was allowed to occur. We don't look into why Capitol Police were firing munitions that they weren't authorized to fire into a crowd that was standing around singing the national anthem. My concern with a blanket pardon, we don't get any of that done. That we move past it, and you can't just move past these things because people have lost their marriages, their homes, their children, their livelihoods, their licenses. You can't just move past it. A pardon it's great on paper. It's an opportunity to shake the president's hand and say, thank you, I appreciate it 4 years later. But how are these people being restored? How do they get back to their lives? We don't answer that question with blanket pardons. We answer it with investigations. We answer it with committees. We answer it with exposing. Some people simply put their hand on the back of an officer's back and pat it and say, thank you for your service. And they got an assault charge that is a felony. And they serve time in the false evidence because of it.
Yeah, I think everything you just laid out there was very reasonable and logical, and it makes a lot of sense to me. I agree that the punishment has been massive for the last 4 years. So I think that in addition to that, plus the due process problems about prosecuting and trying people in one of the biggest places in the whole country is very concerning. So I think that there were violations that need to be remedied, but I'm with you. I don't want Ray Epps necessarily to get a pardon and to just be forgotten about. And so anything that's blanket that doesn't allow us to investigate, even at the Proud Boys trial, those projectiles that were being shot in people's faces, right? That came up there, and that was discussed, but what they didn't allow was evidence of 8 other HSI agents there, right? I'm sorry, it was 8 FBI agents that they admitted came in. That was evidence that came into trial, but there were dozens of other HSI agents that never made any testimony because the judge precluded them. So all of that needs to be exposed, and I think to your point about how do you put some of this back together, it's not about just forgetting it and moving on. It's about showing what actually happened, what is the truth, so that the wives who left their husbands and vice versa can look at it and say, oh yeah, right, I was sold a lie by a propaganda company.
I'm concerned. It's history, right? Canon is written by the victors, and we won something here. But until we recanonize the historical event that is January 6th correctly and accurately, we don't really win anything. We don't get to talk. We don't get to explain the narrative in such a way that history remember me for being a guy who just showed up to protest or exercise his First Amendment rights to protest, to peacefully assemble. I need that. That is my way. I think a lot of January 6ers are. I've been done a lot longer than a lot of people, so maybe the reason that I seem to have this reason is because I have that time to process and move on. But it's a short-sighted way to just get a pardon and move on. You need your long-term win, and that is, how are my grandkids going to do? How are my great-grandkids going to do? How 100 years of American history going to look at? This is what happened.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and I'm very hopeful that we get people like Peter Bondi, who, despite some of the faults on some of the gun stuff, and Cash Patel, right, if they do declassify some of these things, open up investigations, I think we'll be shocked and disgusted to see actually what went down there. We've got a pretty good idea of what went down because we're covering the trial and other videos, but like the public, it's hard for them to wrap their heads around the idea that there were 5 Proud Boys on trial, but they admitted that there were 8 FBI CHS informants. So there's more federal agents than there were defendants that they admitted, and then the defense had 50 plus others that they identified from other entities. So the public needs to know that, and let them shut it.
I think so. Again, I think the only people who really understand what happened that day are the ones that's infected directly, and everyone else gets the cliff notes, gets the the MSNBC edited version that was produced for the J6 committee and blasted everywhere. That's what they get. And I keep telling people, look, you can be vindicated, you can be in part, you can be justified, but until history speaks well of you, we're not winning yet. So don't be so short-sighted. You've been here long enough. You've been here too long
24
enough.
miles still?
But
Shit.
if you waited this long, you've been through this much, don't do it at the end. You need to keep pushing.
Do you have any take or position on potential prosecutions for any of these people? Liz Cheney, I mean, I've been ranting that she's violating 1512B, obstructing, supporting, encouraging, all sorts of stuff.
Didn't they destroy evidence and documents relating to the J6 committee? That's the issue. Isn't that the exact 1512C that they prosecuted a couple hundred January 6ers for?
Yeah, well, because the House of the Administration Committee or whatever, because he did it, they're allowed to do it.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense. If we're going to prosecute anyone, I think Matt Briggs is definitely on the list.
Yeah.
I think
U.S. Attorney from D.C., right?
Yeah, I would love to see Adam Kinzinger brought back. I would love to see Mark Milley brought back and have to discuss his communications with Nancy Pelosi and why the National Guard wasn't deployed. There were phone calls that came through, and the National Guard was there the day before. They were posted everywhere. And I remember walking towards the Capitol and I was talking to my jiu-jitsu coach, and I was like, man, I wonder if they have live ammunition rounds for thermals today. But I knew that walking up that this might be a dangerous event. I saw the National Guard the day before. They weren't there. And it was the most confusing thing to me. Where is all the security? We're talking about a couple dozen cops that have formed a semicircle towards the western face of the building. Where is everyone? How did this even happen? So I would like to know, I would like to have some actual answers.
Me too, and I think we're getting more and more info very slowly dripping out. We've got new reports on the pipe bomber and how that was a giant distraction and how they moved the bike racks around.
Yeah, the pipe bomber to me is one of the most interesting things about all of this. I honestly believe it's going to be worse than it was. I think they believe that people were bringing firearms and they believe that people were going to actually engage in actual. Again, we are the most armed nation in the world, and one side has more guns than the other. And none of that happened. There were a bunch of people who were just reading the balance and walking through the ropes. I think they wanted it to be bigger, the pipe bomb, everything else. I think they had plans for multiple attacks throughout the city that night. Related to Proud Boys, the MAG movement. I think the Patriot Act 2.0 they passed through. I think they wanted something much worse than what they passed through. And because January 6th didn't occur the way that they had planned to occur, we didn't get the full scale of that.
That's interesting. Very interesting. Well, look, I know you're packing up. You're going to the inauguration tomorrow. You're
I am.
To DC.
I am. I'll be on a TimCast tomorrow night, and then I am leading a tour through the Capitol on Saturday at noon. I'm bringing a bunch of hats to give away. It's got my little insignia on it. But we'll be hitting screen boards at noon on Saturday. So if you would like to add them towards the Capitol with friends, tour that would come show up and be a good time.
That'll be amazing. And so the best place for people to follow you is on X. You're at Lecter.
That's correct. That's the only place I'm at currently, so that's where you can find me.
Amazing. And anything else you're working on? We're working on the nonprofit.
Yes, so I have a 501c3. The website should go live in a couple of weeks. We wanted to wait till the first of the year because of audits, because I'm getting audited no matter what. So I wanted a new fiscal year start, so we'll have hats, t-shirts, 80s, lecterns, all for sale, and then we will be giving those, we'll be donating a lot of money to kids who have parents who are in prison, and just trying to take care of people, one lectern at a time.
Nice guy.
Adam, man, I'm really grateful that you exist, that you are who you are, and staying on this case and speaking out, because I think it's really integral in the process of rewriting this history for the truth that it is. And without you, without Free State Road, without
Napoleon, that's where the wife works.
Talk to and others that we have, we can't do that, right? We can't do that. It's just going to be garbage area. And so got some work to do, but I'm grateful that you're out there doing it. So
Same to you, Guy. I appreciate everything you do as well. It takes all of us, all of our voices.
we're working on it, man. Thank you so much for coming on. I want to wish you safe travels to the inauguration, and we'll see you on Teamcast tomorrow. Be safe out there. Stay warm.
Do my best, all right? I'll talk to you later.
All right, see you, brother. All right, my friends, that is Adam Johnson, lectern guy. And so let me share with you where you can follow him so that you can give him your love and your support. And of course, he's going to be over on I'm all discombobulated. So, the lectern guy on X. Let's pull this up. This is his account. And so make sure you go give him a follow right here. Doing amazing work. He's got his nonprofit, and let's see, what did I do? We're still screwed. Okay, we're still screwed. I think I might have just moved stuff around. What did I do? Are we still live here, my friends? Okay, sorry. I'm trying to figure out what I did with my main screen. We're still here? All right, good. That's good, because we got Garrett, who's coming on in a minute. Where the heck did this go? All right, 1 second. I'm all discombobulated. No. All right, I gotta clean up some screens. We're still live. This is a technical difficulty. My apologies. However, we're gonna have Garrett Ziegler here at any minute.
Hey, Interact.
So we got a little time to kill. And what happened with the space Starlink? What happened with Starlink? Or SpaceX? Are we still live here? All right. How are we still live? Where's my screen at? This is the weirdest thing that's happening. I don't even know how we're live right now. There it is. I found it. All right, we're back. All right, I found it. All right, we're live. All right, that's good. I found the screen. Okay, so good. We are still on. All right, so let me share with you where Lectern Leader is, and then we're going to be joined by Garrett Ziegler.
I'm just heading out to do some more work. I will be there in about 15 minutes, so but I'll fire it back up on the way home.
Okay, the booster worked, but they lost the Starship. Ah, dang it. All right, we're back. They lost the Starship? Like what happened? It exploded? All right, while we're waiting for Garrett, let's see. What's here? Spaceship, Starship. Come on, Elon. You lost it? Oh, this is live right now. But you probably can't hear the audio right now, but that's what it looks like.
Looks like it's caught.
They caught the booster? Dang. All right, so we got Garrett. Let me make sure he is joining us here in a second. And we're excited.
How's Miss Doc doing? She's doing good. She's at home already. It was a short day for her.
Still good.
Hey, PDF.
All right, so he's joining us. All right, so Garrett is joining us. We're going to let him get settled in. And then we'll be talking to him. But let me just explain who Garrett Ziegler is in case you're not familiar. You can go follow their work over at Marco Polo 501c3 on X. He's a friend of the show. We've talked to him many times because he's a genius. And he also is the author and the purveyor of the report on the Biden laptop. Marco Polo USA.org is where I got my copy. And if you go through it, you're going to see just all sorts of evidence on the Biden crime family and their nefariousness that has been in existence for quite some time. But this week,
This guy's not even doing the speed limit in the fast lane.
developments.
I hate passing people on the right, but he wasn't moving. Of course, he's going to speed up as they go to pass them.
And if you are familiar
Yep,
with him,
sure as
he's
shit.
the attorney who was
Dumbass.
working on the Hunter Biden prosecution in a couple locations. And we saw him try to give Hunter Biden a sweetheart deal, basically a non-prosecution agreement that would have made all the criminal charges go away. Then we had the whistleblowers pop out, We had a lot of pressure on David Weiss. We had Garrett's work. Marco
He's got his brights on too. What a fucking asshole.
The whole house of cards started to come down. During their plea deal, Hunter got ornery because he was not going to have a guaranteed promise of no additional charges coming down the line, and they botched the whole deal. Then, as we know, now we know, the whole idea is that he was going to be pardoned regardless, so he didn't have to take him to the deal because his daddy was the president. He was always going to be pardoned. But that doesn't mean that we wouldn't get a report from the special counsel, David Weiss, who was appointed to investigate it. So that report has now come out, and it is short and lacking. And so we want to understand why that is. And so we brought in our good friend Garrett Ziegler, Marco Polo USA, to join us. Garrett, welcome.
Good evening. Thank you for having me on. This is my favorite program.
Man, you're my favorite researcher. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. And that 27-pager, as you alluded to, it's a complete whimper. You know that saying that countries don't die with a bang, they die with a whimper. I think it was T.S. Eliot who said that. This report is a whimper. He had one final chance to redeem himself and do something honorable, and he totally punted. It's a disgrace. But we can go through it, and that's why I love your program so much, is that you focus on the source material. And I can tell your audience precisely what lie he's going for at which particular area of the report.
Yeah, it's not long, like you said. We're used to other reports, like the Robert Hur report on Joe Biden, which is massive. I think big report on Trump came out. I don't know how long that one was, but it's over hundreds of pages. It's 100 plus pages.
Mm-hmm. And critical to this backdrop is that Weiss conducted an interview with the House investigators and some members in November of 2023, and he punted there too. But the issue with that interview is that he said certain questions that he couldn't go into would be addressed in this report. Well, now that it's January 13th, 2025, when the report was released, and he didn't address anything they asked about. So, Hur spent, I think, 85 pages, and you'll know this word because you're an attorney, a declination explanation. This is where we got the phrase elderly man with a sympathetic, probably a sympathetic old man with a poor memory. That is what Hur described what a potential jury could see and show. And we didn't get any of that with David. In fact, that tweet, you pulled up our Twitter, the tweet that we made about this, I'm still calling it Twitter, even though I call it X, I'm still calling the individual post a tweet. That tweet went into the final sentence of this 27-page report. And it stated that it would be, quote, inappropriate to expound upon any additional charges because of Hunter's pardon. That makes zero sense. It's actually more appropriate now that Hunter is not going to be charged on any conduct federally, that is, federally, from January 1st, 2014 to December 1st of 2024. There's even more of a need to provide truth because justice is out the window. The least we can get is truth. Truth is a lower bar than justice. So David had it come down from heaven. The heavens parted, and he had an opportunity to go after and subpoena the royalty of Delaware, the royal family of Delaware. And he did this. He had this opportunity for 6 years. And hilariously, the appendix to this report that you have on the screen, it's 210 pages, give or take, and it's all already documents that have been public. You've gone through some of the documents he put in the appendix. So it's absolutely pathetic. That phrase, don't pee on me and tell me it's raining? He didn't even provide us an investigative document. We're on the outside, right? We have his laptop and other things that we find in the public domain. Weiss has subpoena power. He's sitting on mountains of investigative case files, and he couldn't even put one of them in the appendix. There's not even a crumb for us. All he did was go through the public dockets of Hunter's cases and Smirnoff's cases in California and Delaware respectively, or Delaware and California respectively, and posted the already public opinions as if Merrick Garland isn't even aware of them yet. And you know, this letter and this report is addressed to Merrick Garland because that's what the regulations require. So read it as if you're Merrick Garland. You already know all of this, and so it's pathetic in that sense too. That there may be some investigative files that Merrick, because he's not in the weeds on everything, right? He doesn't look over every response to a search warrant. That he may know that the public doesn't even know. But the public knew. The public following this closely knew every single item in this report.
Yeah, and it's interesting that it is so short because I just pulled up the report on Trump from Jack Smith, just volume 1, and it's 174 pages. It is 136 pages to the conclusion. So there's an appendix there, but it's 136 pages of Jack Smith, who would have a similar argument towards a prosecutorial impediment, right? So let's say, for example, David Weiss says, I can't prosecute Hunter because he's got a pardon. Therefore, I can't do my work and explain anything. Okay, well, Jack Smith can't prosecute Trump because he's going to be the president. There's a similar prosecutorial impediment. But Jack Smith ran his mouth for over 100 pages and explained exactly how it worked. So why can't David Weiss do that?
Well, I couldn't have said it better than you. And the only thing I have to add is that the difference between Weiss and Jack Smith is cowardice or not. We both know that Jack Smith is corrupt as the day is long, and he's been overturned by SCOTUS 9-0. But if we want to be completely fair to Jack Smith, he's many things, but he's not a coward. He's terrible and he's corrupt. But Weiss is what C.S. Lewis would call a man without a chest. And you know, Weiss is on page 9 of our dossier, page 12, right here, him and Bill Barr. They both slow walk the investigation of Hunter, meaning the Hunter investigation started officially in September of 2018. So we have 6 plus years, not 6.5, 6 plus years of case files. And he didn't put a single one of them in the appendix. So 175 pages by Smith. And then, by the way, because you and I can accept each separate idea as either true or false, some of the stuff with regard to declination in the Her report, I agree with. I don't agree with every declination explanation, meaning I think Joe could have been charged, and especially the declination discussion about Mark Swanitzer. I brought up that guy on your program before. Your audience knows of him. He's the ghostwriter who knowingly received and stored classified intel, deleted the audio recordings after the announcement of the special counsel. He should have at least been charged on obstruction of justice. I don't agree with that declination charge, especially, but at least Her had the testicular fortitude to put it in writing. You know, that's the essence of being a human being. That you can use your reason to make arguments and put it out there. And if somebody accepts it, fine. If they don't agree, they, as a sentient human being, can make arguments back. We don't even get that with Weiss. I know I'm animated, but this guy may be the worst figure in this entire saga. Leslie Wolf, who we've talked about for minutes on end on this program, she is terrible, but at least the buck didn't stop with her. The buck stopped with Weiss, both when he was the Senate-confirmed U.S. attorney and the special counsel. And I disagree with Chuck Grassley, by the way. This is news. This transpired in the last 24 hours. Chuck Grassley said he's not going to call in Weiss for a hearing. Well, the folks on the House side better get ready then, because this is the archetypical need a time for a hearing. In fact, Durham and Her had more of a argument to not show up for a hearing because they actually produced long-winded and thorough reports. I don't agree with much in any of them, but at least they did work. Weiss and his team are phoning it in. They're lazy. So in addition to cowardice, they have laziness on their side. Robert, a 10th take the footnotes off of this 27 pages. A 10th grader could have put this thing together. A very
All right, guys.
precocious 10th